I'm Tara.
And I'm Ashley.
Each week, two movies battle it out in a bracket-style competition to find the ultimate romantic comedy.
This is the Trope Report.
Hey everyone!
Welcome back!
This week we are discussing Trainwreck and The Prince and Me.
Trainwreck is our number 4 seed with 84%.
And The Prince and Me is a 13 seed with a 28%.
Okay, let me just say right off the bat, I think both of these movies needed to be like 20 minutes shorter.
You think they were too long? Okay, yes.
Slightly too long.
Prince and Me, I was like, what is happening? How is there so they add on so much extra at the end when they could have ended it. Yeah. And Trainwreck, you felt like it was too long?
I felt like it was just a smidge too long. I like my rom-coms to be like the 90-minute
short and sweet.
We get beginning, middle, end, and that's it.
I can see what you're saying.
So should we start with Trainwreck? Do we want to hop right in?
Yeah, let's get into it. I have never seen Trainwreck before. I had seen Prince and Me.
Same.
I'm going to be honest. I know I feel like I say this every time because I just love romantic comedies. I love movies. But again, this is going to be hard for me.
Yeah.
Because these were really good and very different. So it's hard for a comparison. Yeah. Okay, so let me give a synopsis for Trainwreck. Amy Schumer comes from a family of divorce and has a major fear of commitment. She spends most nights sleeping with a new guy and has made the rule for herself to never spend the night. She's a writer at a magazine that features stories like, "Are you gay or is she just boring?" She is tasked with writing a sports article on a sports surgeon, aka Bill Hader, aka Aaron. I think in all my notes, I just wrote Bill Hader.
Yeah,
so
same.
That's what I'm referring to him as. Okay. As she gets to know him for her article, she breaks her rule and spends the night. We get to follow their relationships' ups and downs, but these people are very opposite. Can they make it work? This was such a funny movie.
This was funny.
I don't really follow Amy Schumer that much, but she was so good in this.
Bill Hader was amazing.
Bill Hader, I mean, I love him.
Can we just start by, this might be the most star-studded cast we've seen.
I was gonna say that.
We have her best friend, Vanessa Bayer. Mm-hmm. We have Randall Park as a coworker, Ezra Miller as a coworker, Tilda Swinton as the boss.
Okay, and that I was gonna say, I did not even recognize her until I was
the worst fake tan.
Yeah, but I didn't realize until after the movie, and I was looking up the cast.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Brie Larson is the sister.
Yes.
Daniel Radcliffe and Marissa Tomei have a little cameo in the movie.
John Cena, LeBron James.
Pete Davidson. Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, Ferris Bueller, Leslie Jones. This is insane.
This was how much did this cost to make? Because it was so star-studded.
Did they both just call in every favor to get all these people?
Totally.
Otherwise it would have been $1 billion budget.
Yeah, completely. So it was so funny. All those people, hilarious in this movie. I guess, opening scene, the dad is explaining, it's back years in the past, okay? The dad's explaining to, Amy and the sister Brie Larson. He's explaining that monogamy just doesn't work. And him and his mom, the mom, are getting a divorce. And he explains this through, why would you want to just play with one doll when you can play with all your Barbie dolls?
This was depressing to me
It was depressing, but also the kids' reactions. Those two child actors were so good. They were so cute.
They're like, no,
I want to play with all. Of course, you're selling it to kids. You're saying, why would you want to just play with one doll?
I would believe him too.
So Amy completely believes him and is monogamy is stupid. This is never going to work. She really idolizes her dad, and Brie does not. She does not agree with him, and you see that throughout their life. So you fast forward 23 years, and you have this little montage. She's sleeping with a new guy every night. Like I said, her rule, never spend the night.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to catch feelings. So...
Well, that was one of the first funny scenes. Is she spent the night with the guy.
True.
And she's like...
They start hooking up.
He goes down on her.
Right.
And right after she finishes, she pretends to be asleep.
Yeah.
And he's like, you said you would get me like now. She's just like fake snoring.
Iconic.
Yeah, she was like, she got what she needed.
Yeah.
It's done. The next morning, she looks horrible. And he's like, you look like an angel.
She looks a mess throughout all of it. And these guys love her. It's so funny. Was that the one?
Angelic.
Then she also goes. She ends up in Staten Island or something, a disaster, and he's obsessed with her. Yeah. He wants to bring her to some family party and stuff. She's like, absolutely not. She takes the ferry home. She's like, I can't believe that I accidentally spent the night there. So we jump over to see her work life, which is just as crazy. The magazine is atrocious. Yeah. It's a fiasco. Everyone's writing trash articles.
Trashy magazine.
Yeah, classic.
Well, first trope, she writes for a magazine.
True.
Every rom-com.
Yeah, that's true. And she hates her job.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
She wants to be a serious
writer. Classic trope.
Classic.
So they're discussing future articles, and the sports topic comes up. I think Randall Park wanted to write the sports article, and Amy says that if you're someone that idolizes athletes, you basically have no intellect. You're an idiot. Yeah. So she gets assigned the sports article, of course.
They want,
hilarious.
Like, a perspective on it.
Yeah. So that's where she meets Bill Hader, because he is this like famous sports surgeon person.
Yeah, he's like a sports medicine doctor.
Has his life together. So they're complete opposites. Yeah. Another trope.
Well, so we didn't get into it, but she has an inner monologue, which is one of my dislikes.
Really? Really? Yeah. Did you like it in the kissing booth, or you hated it?
And I also thought, Bill Hader doesn't show up until like 25 minutes in.
Yeah.
I was like, this is too late. I want Bill Hader right now.
I know, I love Bill Hader, because we see a bunch of her backstory. We are understanding, because then we get a taste of her family, like her dad.
Her dad's
in a nursing home or something, because he has MS, so he needs help. And then the dynamic of the family is what we get at the beginning.
Brie Larson's family. She is married to just a dorky little guy.
And I love the stepson. Yeah. He's so outrageously cute.
Yeah, again, a dorky stepson.
Yeah, so he's dorky. Should be in high school, but is 5 years old.
He's an old man. He's like, I'm gluten free.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So we get a lot of introductions to her family. Bill Hader shows up at the 25 minutes into the movie. She shows up at his office for the interview. LeBron James comes back in and he's I forgot my sunglasses.
Yes. And she doesn't even know who LeBron James is.
No.
She doesn't know anything about sports, which makes it even funnier. I love that Bill Hader is best friends with LeBron James.
This was the funniest running bit in the movie.
Yes.
LeBron James is the greatest comedic actor to ever live. He should be in every comedy ever.
He was so funny.
The running bit is LeBron James is so cheap. So he comes back, he's like, I forgot my sunglasses. Yes. And Bill Hader was like, you drove back 45 minutes just to get them, buy new ones. And he's like, you think I'm gonna give the Sunglass Hut another $30?
Yes. And they go out to brunch later, and he doesn't want. He's like, we have to split the check. We have to. I'm not gonna owe you anything. You don't owe me anything. It's so funny. But even beyond that, I thought he did so well. He was so funny.
He's like, are we on for Downtown Abbey tomorrow night?
Yes.
And he's like, well, I might be busy, so can we do it the night after? He's like, you think I'm gonna go to practice and all the guys are talking about the new Downtown Abbey episode and I don't know about it? You're crazy.
It was so funny. I loved that. But I forgot, you're saying that Bill Hader doesn't come in till later. Yeah. You're so right, because we also get everything with John Cena.
Oh my god.
How could we forget about John Cena?
Yes, she's dating John Cena.
She doesn't, and the thing is, she doesn't spend the night, and she doesn't really date people as her rule, but apparently she's dating John Cena.
Yeah, she's dating John Cena.
But it's so funny.
She's keeping him at a distance, keeping things casual, and of course he's in love with her, but also... Yeah. It's crazy, the movie scene. They're at the movie.
Oh my god, yeah. So they go to the movie theater because he wants to see some rom-com, right?
The movie that's playing is a fake movie starring Daniel Radcliffe and Marissa Tomei.
So good.
Rom-com where Daniel Radcliffe is a dog walker.
Which, that movie also, I like how it's thrown back throughout the movie.
Yeah.
You see it, in the background and stuff. Yes, I loved that.
It was the hit movie of the summer.
I loved that.
And it's all just, dog innuendo.
Yeah.
She's like, no one's taking care of my pooch in forever.
Yes.
I would always take care of your pooch.
So funny. They're in the movie theater, and what happens? Amy's doing something or something. Yeah, they're talking, and basically the couple behind is like, you better keep your woman quiet, right? So John Cena starts to get feisty with him, but with the worst comebacks ever.
It's horrible.
Yeah, I think I wrote...
So he's... Well, the guy calls him Mark Wahlberg. He's like, who else looks like Mark Wahlberg? You're Mark Wahlberg. He's like, me? Mark Wahlberg? I look like Mark Wahlberg. Ain't Mark Wahlberg. I will answer you. And it's so funny because the guy that's taking the insults is like, what is going on?
Yeah, so confused.
His wife is like, I think he wants to have sex with you.
But I love how they're also unfazed. That was so, like, they're shocked, but so unfazed.
Yeah, she's like, he wants to have sex with you.
100%. Yeah. He also, what does he say? You're being an asshole. You know what I do with assholes? I lick them. Yeah. He's coming back. And I was cracking up in that scene.
The whole time, Amy Schumer's like, you have to stop. You're threatening to rape him.
Yeah. Well, she's also so high.
Yeah, she's
so
high.
She's also loving it. Yeah. And so they basically leave the movie theater, and Amy's, she's high. She doesn't have a care in the world. John Cena's all fired up. And we basically find out that he was going to propose to her, which I'm like, what? And she literally responds with, what? I didn't even think you liked me. Yeah. Like, he's clearly obsessed with her.
They spend the night together.
Yeah, I thought they did. Did they not? That whole scene where they sleep together, and he's
like, talk dirty to me.
And he cannot talk dirty. He's saying anything but. He's speaking Chinese. It was so
like Cantonese or something. He's like, I've been learning it, and she's like, no, like, describe how you first saw me. He's like, yeah, I remember it, like, I saw the back of your head and I thought you look like a dude.
and he finishes with that. Yeah. It's so funny. He is so good
John
too.
Cena is a great comedic actor.
Yes, totally. Anyway, so John Cena's basically done now because, he wants to propose. She wants nothing to do with it.
He finds out she's been seeing other guys this whole time.
Oh, yeah. So they jump to now she starts with Bill Hader. So she goes to his work. She's tasked with writing this article. She knows nothing about anything. He
finds out she doesn't know anything. He's like, do you watch sports? And she's like, yeah, my favorite team is like the Long Island Mediums, the Orlando Blooms. Like, she starts listing his fake team.
So he catches on that she knows nothing.
He's like, you hate sports. You don't watch any.
Yeah. So they go and spend like the day at the facility. It's fun, you see that they're getting to know each other, right? And then he asks her to go to dinner.
Okay, wait, this was another, I'm so sorry.
What?
I so many comedic moments. But so
it was the funniest movie.
So he's showing her, like, this equipment where you walk on a treadmill and it, like...
Oh, yeah.
It tracks your, like, stride to figure out if you're, like, favoring one leg or the other or whatever. So she's walking and then she gets a text that, like...
Yeah. This wasn't funny. This was so...
Okay, I'm getting to it.
Okay.
The sister's wants to move him to a cheaper retirement
home. The dad, yeah.
Yeah. And so she starts to feel faint and she sits down and she's like, I'm sorry. She's like, I ate nothing today. I stopped at Starbucks. I had a few scones. I had some Lay's potato chips. But the scones were super small. I mean, I did stop at Chipotle too, but you know that runs right through me. And Bill Hader's like, okay, so you had breakfast, lunch, and a snack. Okay, let's get some food in you.
It's so, until they go to dinner then. Yeah. Oh my God.
But
it's just
like, the way she played
I was laughing out loud.
I know. So we were on a plane and Tara was laughing.
Well, she was sitting next to me as I'm watching this and taking my notes. And first off, don't appreciate that I said, don't look at my notes. Let's save it for the podcast. And you looked at almost everything I wrote down.
No, I tried not to.
Okay, but I would literally, as I wrote something, I would look over to you and your eyes would be on my screen.
I would be watching the movie. I was watching the movie, not your screen.
Yeah, right. Anyway, I was laughing out loud on the plane. It was so funny. Anyway.
So they go to dinner.
They go to dinner. And then they have, at dinner... They talk about how do you ask for a check.
So Yeah, he's like, check please, and she's like, what are you doing? You have to mouth it, and not say check.
Be cool and just mouth it and do it with your hand, the little scribble sign. Yeah. And he tries it again, but then he's doing
gets increasingly loud.
Yeah, and he's
can I please get the check?
He's screaming for the check. It's so funny. What do you do? I always do the little scribble sign.
I just do scribble. I don't mouth it.
I think I mouth it.
Honestly, I don't know if I never catch their eye.
Really?
I don't think I've ever successfully.
Oh yeah, I feel like I had to do it last time, right? Yeah. Anyway, so that was hilarious. So they go to another like pub or something,
Dinner,
and
then they get drinks.
Yeah, they stay there all night until it closes.
They're talking,
and they're having a great time, and they leave and they get a cab, and Bill Hader says, 2 stops, please, and she says just one, and basically they go back to his place. They sleep together. You could see he's shocked. He's like, what is going on? But this is like, just another night for her. Yes. Like I said, they're complete opposites, trope. Anyway, so they sleep together, and she's like, I'm gonna go now.
She wants to go home.
And he's like, no, like, we have to spoon, we have to cuddle.
He's like, stay the night.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I love this scene, though, because I related to it so much, where she says, like, if I sleep here, I can't just sleep, like, it needs to be a realistic position. We can't be spooning, because if I hear you breathing or sweating, I'll just lay here resenting you. I completely agree. I need, like, complete silence, no one touching me.
She's so dramatic. He's just laying facing her, not touching her. She's like, I'm so sorry, I can feel you breathing. I need you to, like, lay facing upwards. So he's laying on his back, just like, I can still feel it. Maybe we'll put, like, a barrier of pillows between
She put pillows between, yeah. I love that. So relatable. So then we see the next day that she goes to work, and she goes to her best friend at work, and she's like, oh my god, I think I actually like him, because that was so fun. This is so weird. And her friend's like, oh my god, should I call 911? Like, they're so concerned because this is not her. And then Bill is out with LeBron, and they're having brunch, and LeBron's like, we gotta call, we gotta ask her out again, like hyping him up. Bill calls, and Amy's like confused. The friend's freaking out. She's like, this is a serial killer. I can't believe he's calling you the next day. Yeah. But she basically says, like, maybe we could see each other. Like, let's just see. Like, we're still doing the interview thing for the article. Let's just go from there. Bill takes this as good news. Like, they're going to see each other again, but it's really for work purposes. But anyway. So.
Also a funny moment. LeBron's like trying to convince him to visit him in Cleveland.
Oh,
yes. And he's just saying, like...
Well, he's like, you always came to Miami. Why are you never going to Cleveland?
He's like, well, it's Miami. And he's like, I don't see the difference. Like, they're the same thing.
Again, I'm dying laughing at LeBron James. Yeah. So funny.
He's like, Cleveland's great for the entire family. Cleveland has a, like...
He's like, why are you so obsessed with Cleveland?
He's like, yeah, I know, you say this all the time. Sometimes you randomly text me this about Cleveland.
It's so good. I love the relationship. Okay, so then they get together, I think, for another interview thing or something, or it's not a date yet. And basically she gets a call. Oh, because they're in surgery. He's in surgery. She's watching his surgery, and she literally vomits watching him cut open a knee. Oh, it was disgusting.
This was, like, after the surgery, a big moment that I liked about Bill Hader was he's so straightforward. She's trying to kind of brush him off because she has commitment issues. And he's like, I think we like each other and we should start dating.
Yes.
Like, he's so straightforward. He's like, I like you, you like me, let's do this.
Yeah. I love that. Because, again, she needs someone like that. Otherwise, she just completely... Even she responds to that with, like, no, I have something to do. I think I'm busy. And he's like, no. We're going on a date. We're literally boyfriend, girlfriend. Yeah. And she just goes along with it. Thank God, because they have this great relationship for, like, months.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a montage after that, right? Like,
well, no, because we see that the dad falls and has to get stitches. So Amy and Bill rush over to him, and that's where this was right after he said we're official, we're dating. And we see that the dad actually likes Bill. Like, Bill is very good with him. So now you're like,
they can talk sports together.
Yeah, and, like, Amy looks up to her dad so much that his opinion matters. And so the fact that he actually likes Bill, like, big plus. Amy has a panic attack with her sister over how much she likes him. which I also just wanted to do a side note. She says, like, she's so afraid of commitment. Like, what if I mess this up with him? What if I do something, like, horrible, disgusting to drive him away? And her example is that maybe she forgets to flush a bad tampon, like a first or second day heavy tampon down the toilet, and it's sitting there. But my question to you is, you can't flush tampons. Why is she do you flush tampons?
I don't want to get into this right now.
You flush them, don't you?
Sometimes I will.
You can't. It's literally every sign on every public restroom is do not flush.
I'm honest with you, for the longest, we just can't make it in. For the longest time, I thought it just meant pads. Like, you can't flush with pads. So a few years ago, I learned that it also meant tampons.
Yes.
But sometimes if it falls in the water already, I'm like, all right.
Listen.
Nothing bad has ever happened from it.
Okay, but I just would never think to flush it. I don't know. I thought that was crazy that she's just always flushing them.
I use, like, the extra light. I'm like, it's not going to clog anything.
I don't know. I guess it really is just a dense wad of, like...
It's just toilet paper.
I guess. But I don't know. I thought that was crazy because I never flush it. I never think to flush it. Anyway, then it jumps into the montage of them being really cute.
They go to events together.
They're dating for months. Yeah.
Okay.
But what?
When he takes her to, like, a basketball game.
Oh, yeah.
And this was a dislike, but it kind of came back around, where, like, she was talking shit about cheerleaders. She was like, you're going to lose us the right to vote. I was like, this isn't very women's supporting.
Yes, I thought the same thing.
But then it does come back around later, where she becomes a cheerleader.
True.
So then I was kind of like, maybe it's fine.
She grew as a person.
She grew.
I did think that in the moment. I was like,
And it was a funny moment. LeBron comes over and sits next to her and is kind of giving her the best friend speech. Don't hurt my friend. He's like, do you hear his name when you listen to the wind?
Do you get butterflies in your stomach? Yeah.
When you look at the clouds, do you see his face?
Oh my
like,
God.
What?
I love it. Not that far after this montage, though, basically everything crashes and burns. I mean, the first thing is that they go to a baby shower together, and she hears him say that he would want 2 kids by 40 or something, or he wants a kid by 40, something like that.
Yeah.
And she starts having a panic attack because she was like, holy shit, this is getting real.
Yeah, they're
I can't have a kid.
Mid-30s, so that's
I think so.
5 years.
Within a couple years, yeah. So she starts to panic about that. Then her sister Brie Larson's husband tells Bill that Amy just sleeps with, like, every guy, has slept with, like, a million guys.
Yeah.
That starts to get Bill nervous. That, like, plants a seed. Then we have the dad die because he hoarded his medication.
That was crazy.
That was really sad. So the funeral happens. She fights with her sister at the funeral. She's, like, completely going downhill because the dad meant so much to her. At the funeral, Bill tells her that he loves her for the first time.
And this is just a lot for her.
Too much for her. I get it. It's a little, come on, Bill.
She has such
maybe not the best place.
Issues,
yeah.
And, like, the dad was the precipice of her commitment issues. And so him dying really brought all that back up.
Yes.
Of, like, her parents' failed marriage.
Yeah.
And, you know, all the teachings of her father.
Yeah.
So I think it was a very bad time.
Very bad time. Sure. And she basically was just like, are you kidding me? This is the worst moment for you to say this to me. So then they go back and you see they're starting to go downhill, but then they go to the luncheon, right? For Bill's, like, getting an award for surgery.
Yes.
And they go to this luncheon thing that's very fancy, and she's wearing this deep V dress, like, very short, totally not appropriate. And he kind of makes a comment, like, what are you wearing? Like, you don't have anything else that... And she was like, I look good in this. As soon as they get there, she's like, this is totally inappropriate. Why don't you tell me to change?
Yeah.
And so he goes up for his acceptance speech for this award, which I guess he was very nervous about doing this speech, and he wanted to do the speech to her, like, to see her in the audience. And she gets a call from her boss, Tilda Swinton, who's crazy, and she takes a call because she keeps calling, and she goes outside and leaves while he's having his speech.
Well, so Tilda did text her. She ignored the call. Tilda texted her, if you don't pick it up, you're fired.
Yeah.
So she leaves. But I think what really did it, like, after the call finished, wasn't she smoking?
She's outside smoking pot out the window at this fancy benefit.
He comes out and finds her doing that and thinks, like, she just left to get high.
Yeah, like, she doesn't care about it at all.
Yeah, he's furious.
Yeah. So that's when they have this big fight in this luncheon thing.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, like, so that's it, bye. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, people fight. We're working through our fight.
In a relationship.
Yeah. Because she's never been that far in a relationship to even have a fight.
Yeah.
So basically, he says they are fighting all the way back to the apartment. And then he's like, my parents said never go to bed angry. So he's like, let's work this out. They're fighting all night. Now she's like spewing everything, right? She finally gets to just release everything. And he's falling asleep. He has this big surgery for Amari something. I guess this is a famous basketball player or something. I don't know. Another cameo. And so he has this big knee surgery on him the next day. That basically, even wasn't this luncheon was like they were commenting on, like, everyone knows about this surgery. So he's like falling asleep, but she's like, stay awake, you, like, we're not going to bed angry, I'm saying all this stuff. Anyway, so he gets to the surgery the next day, and he's falling asleep and losing his mind after their fight. And Amari's like, I'm not doing this. I refuse the surgery. You're totally not fit to do this right now. He comes back to the apartment, right? Amy's there. I think she's high again. Why is she always getting high? And he's like, you know what? Forget everything I said. Like, that was his breaking point. It does bother me that you slept with people. It does bother me that you're always high. Like, I can't do this. Like, we need to take a break. And so she basically, with that, you know, she gives up easily because she has issues. And she's like, okay, we're absolutely done. Like, I don't even think she considers a break, right? Like, she's just like, we're done. And so then she goes to work. She gets fired from her job. I mean, this is, how long is this that it's just like bad thing after the next? This is a total downhill at the end. So she gets fired. Oh, no. Before she gets fired, why she gets fired is because she sleeps with the intern.
This is crazy.
This was the most...
She goes out, she's partying with her coworkers. The intern is Ezra Miller.
Okay. Isn't this the guy that you were telling me about who's, like, off the deep end or something?
He's crazy.
This made it even more disturbing.
He's basically, like, been arrested for, like, human trafficking.
That's insane.
Yeah, because he took, like, some 15-year-old girl to the body.
That's so scary. Okay, so this is so fitting for what he does. He's like a complete freak.
This scene made me the most uncomfortable of...
You saw me. I fast-forwarded it.
Fast-forward. So the intern basically, like, comes up to her and is hitting on her, and he's like, do you want to, like, come back to my place? They go back to his place. They start having, like, making out and having sex.
Oh my
but
God.
he's making out so weird, and she's just like, what do I do with this? Let's just start having sex.
Yeah.
And he's like...
lick my nipples and
nipples and slap
but
him.
like call like she's daddy or something, like he's a little girl. He kept saying you're daddy, I think. It was just again, I fast forwarded. It was the most disturbing thing.
He slaps her and then she punches him because she's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And his mom runs in. He's underage.
Oh my God.
I don't know if you fast forwarded through that part.
I think I caught that he was like, what, 16 or something crazy?
Like, what are you doing? He's underage. And Amy Schumer's just like, fuck.
Yeah.
And then the next day,
she gets fired.
Everyone at work knows about this and she gets fired.
I also find it funny that like everyone at work isn't even phased. Like her coworkers are just like, oh, typical.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so sad. So she gets fired, and then like Bill is just as bad. Well, not that bad, but depressed at home watching TV. Again, I think we circle back to the Daniel Radcliffe movie is on TV.
He's watching the
And LeBron basically calls him an intervention, where we get Matthew Broderick and like some sports people, I guess.
I think they were
commentators.
Famous sports reporters.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. Anyway, so he gets an intervention. Yeah. And then Amy basically decides, you know, I can't do this anymore. This is my lowest point. So she starts to clean herself up. I think she gives all her weed bong stuff to the homeless guy in the corner. She starts to write an article, and she actually submits it to Vanity Fair instead. And then she decides to do a grand romantic gesture, right? So it's the big game after Bill's surgery for Amari, and everything went well, and Amari goes in for the basketball game. That goes great, and then Bill goes back to the locker room, but then gets called back out to the court after the game or something, and basically Amy has all the cheerleaders come out from the team, and she's also dressed as a cheerleader, and she has, I guess, coordinated this whole routine, which was so funny.
It's so funny. She's horrible. She's out of breath.
Yeah.
Instantly.
It's so
She's a
good.
mess.
The best part is that, and you see Bill's face. Okay, so Bill's favorite song when he does surgery is Uptown Girl.
Yeah.
Billy Joel loves it, and she works that into the routine, and he looked so genuinely happy, like almost like he was gonna cry. It was so sweet. She ends this, well, she runs over to him, and I think, does she say, like, I love you? And then they have this such cute moment together, and then she's like, oh my god, wait, the song changes. She's like, there's more of the routine, I have to go. He's like, you don't have to go. She goes back out, she finishes the routine. She basically tries to do this. He says, don't do the dunk, don't do it. So she runs, jumps on the trampoline and tries to dunk the basketball, obviously falls flat on her face immediately, and he runs over and he's like, are you okay? She's like, did I do it? Did I make the basket? He's like, absolutely not even close. But then, you know, they say they love each other and they start making out, and it's just the cutest. I love a little dance routine. I love that. So that was such a cute romantic gesture. So there's a lot of downs at the end, but I think it's made up for with how funny this movie is. It is so funny and such a good ending with the dance routine. So I love this movie. I was so genuinely surprised. Great. Okay. Let's move on to the next.
To the
Prince and Me. Hit me up with a synopsis.
Okay, so Paige, played by Julia Stiles, is a small-town girl with dreams of becoming a doctor. She's determined and doesn't have time for a relationship. Eddie,
classic trope.
played by Luke Mabley, is the playboy Prince of Denmark. Eddie decides to go to university in Wisconsin in hopes of meeting loose American women. Instead, he meets Paige, and after a bad first impression, they become friends. Then they become more than friends, and Paige kind of has to decide between being a princess and being a doctor, following her dreams. I mean, that's the gist of it. Let's dive into the actual plot. Is this a real thing? Like, the women of Wisconsin, and they just, lift their tops up? That was the craziest thing. Like, what is that thing called? Like, Girls Gone Wild?
Yeah.
I think they go to all colleges in the United States. I don't know how they got to Wisconsin. It's freezing there.
I know.
I can't imagine.
No, could never.
I'm sure, University of Miami or something would have been a better...
So much better.
Girls Gone Wild.
Yeah, I wonder why they did focus on Wisconsin. I thought that was weird, but anyway...
Alright, so we open up, we're getting to know these two people. She grew up on a farm. She's very poor, but she's putting herself through college. She wants to become a doctor. He's super spoiled. He's, making out with girls and racing cars.
Multiple girls at a time. He thinks he's such hot stuff.
This was my first dislike of the movie.
Yes.
Such, a sleazeball.
He's so annoying, and can I just say, he's not that good looking. I'm sorry. I'm more attracted to Bill Hader just because I think his personality is so good.
Okay, so I thought this guy looked so familiar. I was like, what has he been in? So I looked him up.
What has he been in?
There are 4 Prince and Me movies.
That's what I was gonna say.
That's because what he's been in.
What I was gonna ask you is, I think that they change Julia Stiles out of the Prince and Me, right?
I wish she would do another one.
I don't think that she's in the other ones. I think they keep changing. I thought they changed him too.
But it said he was in all 4.
Maybe he makes a
cameo.
Look it up, because I really thought that they the next movie they didn't have Julia. Then the next movie they didn't have him. Now there's a completely different cast. I don't know.
Prince and Me 2, The Royal Wedding. This is him, but it's a different Paige Morgan.
Isn't that bizarre?
They recast her.
You can't recast her. She's iconic.
I mean, the rest of the movies are PG. They're probably horrible.
Yeah.
This is just crazy. How 4 movies.
And that's the only thing he's been in?
The only thing I recognize him from. Everything else was I wasn't gonna know. Okay, so he decides, he sees the Girls Gone Wild video. He's like, I'm going to go to Wisconsin. He tells his parents...
I'm doing this for myself.
Yeah, he tells his parents, like, I think I'd really benefit from, like, an American education. He's going to, like, fix himself up, become a proper boy.
Because he's always getting in trouble in the newspapers back home.
He moves into the dorms. He brings his, like, butler with
Which,
him.
how does no one notice that this guy has a butler with him the whole time?
The butler's, like, making him frittatas for breakfast.
Yeah.
Like,
Eggs Benedict.
Benedict. His roommate is a disgusting, like, he just plays video games.
Okay,
eats
he's gross. I thought he was funny, though.
Yeah, he's
I loved him as a little side character. He's outrageous.
And Paige works on campus at, like, the campus bar. As,
Which, like, my campus did not have this. Did you have a place where you could literally get alcohol on campus?
Yeah.
Really?
I thought all campuses had, like, a campus bar.
I didn't?
We had multiple campus bars.
Oh my god, no, I didn't. That would have been nice.
Yeah, it was nice.
Wow.
Because you could use your food points there
Yeah.
for alcohol.
Holy cow.
You could get your own food points.
That's a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the first, like, cringe moment. He goes to the bar that night. He's
oh
you know,
my
itching to
god.
find some loose women. He's, like, ordering a pint. He sees her. She gives him some sass because he's like, do you have a menu? She's like, what?
We have, like, one beer, she says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, what do you, we don't have a menu.
Yeah.
And
he asked her to take her top off.
This was disgusting. It's like, after a few drinks in, like, the bar is kind of starting to clear out. He goes up to her. He's like, take your top off for me.
It's
like,
so...
the fact that he says for me is disgusting.
Really? The whole beginning of this movie really is cringe.
It's like, no one's watching.
Oh my god, it's so bad.
And she sprays him with the tap.
Bill Hader would never say this.
Bill Hader would never. She sprays him with the tap, and he gets kicked out by security.
Yeah.
So, of course, she hates him.
Yeah.
In this moment. He's so gross. Next day, she's walked into biology, and he comes in late.
Naturally.
He's in her class.
Yeah.
Not only that, but he sits next to her. He's her lab partner for the rest of the semester.
Of course.
Of course. And she's like, oh my gosh, this guy isn't going to do any work. He has a butler following him
And he
around.
doesn't at first. He does no work.
Yeah.
I think he doesn't show up for the next lab or something. She goes over to his room and is screaming at him, like, you better pull it together. This means everything to me. I want to be a doctor. And he's like, okay, like, maybe or something. I don't know.
He gets out of bed. He's wearing nothing but boxers. He starts to feel a little tension.
Yeah.
He did have a nice body.
Yep.
Give him that.
Fine.
And then he finds out that he ran out of his allowance. He doesn't have any money. He tells the butler, well, don't you have a salary that I could use?
Yeah, like, okay,
like,
rude.
What?
Yeah.
And so he goes to the bar to try to get a job, and he says, oh, Paige can vouch for me.
Yeah.
And tells, like, the owner of
So
the
the
bar.
guy hires him.
Hires him as, like, the
he
counter.
He knows nothing.
No. And so now their lives are really getting intertwined.
They're always together.
Yeah. Well, then we also get the moment. So she has to take a Shakespeare class. This is, like, her required elective. She's been complaining about it to all of her friends.
Yeah.
In her first essay, she gets a C-. So he, earlier in the movie, quoted Shakespeare to her.
Which, can I just say, I wrote this as a dislike. The way he's quoting Shakespeare all the time just annoys me. Yeah. It's not romantic. It's just weird.
I don't mind it. I kind of like it.
You know me.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, brother. I don't even understand what he's saying.
Yeah. So, basically, they kind of decide, like, she asks him, can you teach me Shakespeare? In exchange, you know, she's helping him with his biology.
Yeah. They're basically helping each other.
Yeah, she's teaching him basic life skills. He has never had to do his own laundry before, so she's teaching him laundry while he's explaining, like, Romeo and Juliet lines to her.
Brother, yeah. But I love this movie, but just that aspect, I'm like, oh, boy.
So she aces her next essay, and they kind of form a friendship.
Yes.
He's, like, watching her dance at the bar, like, as she's cleaning up, and you can see he's starting to fall for her.
Yes, yeah.
And then Thanksgiving break's coming up, and her friend's like, you should invite him to your place.
He has nowhere to go.
He has nowhere to go.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, we're not like that. And the friend's like, fine, then I'm going to invite him to mine. And the friend walks up and is like, hey, Thanksgiving's coming up, and as she's about to invite him, Paige runs over and is like, do you want to come home with me?
She clearly has a crush on him. So they go home for Thanksgiving, where he meets the family, and this is when things really start to spice up, don't you think?
Because I wrote down, like, I'm getting a little bored.
Yes.
Before this, I was bored. Nothing was
Well,
really
maybe
happening.
this was where they could have trimmed it a little bit as well. I mean, the ending is...
Yeah, wait till we even get to that.
Yeah.
Why are we exhausted from this movie
I know.
already? So
Stop.
She takes him home. She's like running it. She has twin brothers, right? They're twins.
Or I don't know if they look nothing alike if they're twins, but they're brothers. She has two brothers.
She has two brothers. They like reference them as the twins, but maybe it's just because they're like
two idiots. Yeah.
And so he gets a little taste of the American farm life. So the dad asks him like, can you help around the farm while you're here? So
which I would be like, are you kidding me? I'm a guest. You want me to work on the farm?
Yeah. So we get a little montage of him like running, chasing around cows, milking the cows.
Yeah.
I guess it's a dairy farm, Wisconsin. And then he catches the brothers like fixing up tractors.
And he loves cars. He loves fixing up all those things. Yeah.
So he's like, I'll help you. There's a big tractor race coming up. So he
love it.
He soups up their tractors for the tractor race. And then tractor race happens. He's in it, and the two brothers,
are
in it. Paige is watching from
the side with her mom,
She's kind of telling her mom, like, the mom's like, I really like this guy for you. Like, I think you guys should be a thing. And she's like, I don't have time. Like, I can't afford distractions. I'm trying to get into med school. She's trying to get into Johnny Hopkins.
Yeah. And she kind of even just puts it down, like, I don't want to be just a stay-at-home mom like you were. That's so boring. And the mom was like, okay, it's not all so bad. Like, you know, open your eyes a little bit.
Yeah.
So they do the race, and they're going up against this. Yeah, of course he wins.
Of course he wins.
Of course. And then, but it's up against some, like, arch nemesis or something. Like, the family. Yeah, so they, like, get into a fight. The guy punches the prince.
I was going to say, this was, like, my first little bit of comedy. Because the brothers start fighting. And Luke kind of looks around like, should I? And then just kind of jumps into the brawl.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a funny fight.
That brings up a good point, though. I was really not laughing at much in this. Especially, so I watched this before Trainwreck. So then to follow it up with Trainwreck, it's like...
Watching these two next to each other is...
There's no comparison with comedy level.
Comedy gap.
Yeah.
So, he gets into the fight, and then he drives Paige home on the tractor, and they have a little barn moment. So
cute.
This is kind of the romance starts to kick in.
Yeah.
So they kiss in the barn very sweetly. He doesn't try for anything more. Which
he's like, I'm gonna just take you home.
Yep.
Because he's so used to just, I guess, sleeping around and all that.
I'm not gonna sleep around with you.
He's growing.
There was also a cute moment. He's like, before they kiss, he's like, do you hate me? And she's like, yes, very much. And then they kiss.
So cute.
It's like enemies to lovers.
Totally.
And so they start dating. They go back to school and they're together.
Yeah.
They're studying, and then
they're
like
stacks.
They're so distracted, and they go to the stacks. Was this a thing at your school?
I mean, if it was, I didn't know about it. In the stacks at the library, people just go and make out?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
This was absolutely a thing at my school. It was so...
Really?
We had a bucket list. I didn't partake in any of this.
Okay.
I'm too good. I was scared of authority.
Yeah.
But, like, the thing on the bucket list was, like, you have to have sex in the stacks, you have to have sex in the gardens, you have to...
What?
Like, it was crazy. I don't know anyone that did it, honestly.
So it was just a rumor.
Well, I'm sure the frat people did it.
Okay.
The people that, you know...
Okay.
Didn't have as much to lose.
Maybe.
But it was absolutely a thing where it's like, oh, you gotta hook up in the stacks before you graduate.
That's nuts.
But so they go back into like the deep corners of the library and start making out. She takes off his shirt, and then paparazzi find them.
Shocking.
And he's pulling her behind. They're running away from the paparazzi. She's like, what's going on?
She's so confused. She has no idea he's a prince.
They're running
Which
outside.
Also... Now that I think about it, how do you not know? Like, I guess I wouldn't know. Is there a Prince of Denmark? I guess I wouldn't even know if he was just walking down the street.
Yeah.
You only really know the...
suspicious when he had a butler.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, so...
Come on, I would have looked him up on... Well, I guess... What year was this?
Google.
Yeah.
It was early 2000s. They had Google back then.
They had Google back then.
I think.
Anyway, she's shocked, and he's basically...
They run out in the rain, and then they, duck into a little tunnel. So another trope.
Always raining. Yes, always raining during the iconic scene.
And she's, mad that he didn't tell her. Mm-hmm. And they kind of break things off. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. This whole time, the king is sick, though. So he's gonna have to take over. He has the pressure of he has to take over probably soon because the king isn't doing well.
So they break it off, and then in her Shakespeare class, she's
brother. Well, he goes back, right?
Yeah, he goes back
because the king's now sick, very sick.
He's gonna have to take over soon.
Yeah, and she freaking has this, which was another, a dislike for me. Mm-hmm. This was too dramatic. Come on, this even for you who maybe
loves the drama
like this. Like, she goes in front of the class and has this whole speech and realization that, like, she loves him so much. During her final presentation, I'm like, yeah. Anyway, so she decides she's flying to Denmark.
Well, she goes back to his room to try to, catch him, but he's already left, and he left her a note, and it's that, Shakespeare quote or something.
Yeah,
and so she decides to fly back to Denmark. All her friends, I liked this, all her friends pitched in all their money. I'm like, this is a great friend group.
That was sweet.
They're encouraging her to chase after him.
Yeah.
So she buys a ticket, she flies to Denmark, she's in the cab, and oh my gosh, there's so much traffic.
Oh my god. Yeah.
And so she's pushing her, she's like, drop me off here. She's pushing her way through the crowd.
Yeah.
She gets to the front. She's like, Eddie.
And of course,
he can't hear.
He can't hear, but everyone recognizes her as Paige Morgan.
You're Paige Morgan. He's loved.
So good. And everyone starts chanting, Paige Morgan, Paige Morgan. Yeah. And so then Eddie turns around, sees her, rides over, picks her up on the horse. Yeah. They race off together, and the movie ends. Just kidding. That's where it should end.
We're only halfway through, people.
Yeah, that's where it should end. It
felt like a whole nother movie after this. I wish it had ended with them just riding off into the sunset.
Well, they ride off, and even if it ended, because then they ride back to his castle, and he proposes.
Well, okay, so
It could have even ended with that.
He starts the session of Parliament or whatever, and Yeah, and then he tries to convince her mother to let him be with her.
Yeah.
The mom doesn't approve of this commoner, but his dad's like, you can marry whoever you want. Mm-hmm. So he goes, oh my god, this proposal was too much, even for me.
I know. The movie was, honestly, there was dislikes. Obviously, I always have dislikes in a movie, but for the most part, I'm, sold with that part. But then it does get, crazy.
When he whisks her away, I'm like, such wishful fulfillment.
That's really where it should have ended.
Yeah.
The crowd cheering, everyone around them, and they go off into the sunset.
I do I'd be fine even if the engagement had stayed in.
Yeah.
For the engagement, he finds her in the gardens, and he opens his, I guess he just has the ring.
Which, that is ridiculous.
He opens his palm. I guess he's just had this fist.
Yeah.
The entire time. He opens his palm, and a butterfly flies out.
That was the stupidest thing.
How was it not crushed?
How did you not crush the butterfly? Yeah.
And there's an engagement ring, and she's like, yes, I'll marry you.
But, what was it? Was there symbolism or something or with the butterfly? There was no other reason. It wasn't earlier in the movie they went to a butterfly place or something. That was so stupid.
And then they're surrounded by butterflies after that. Mm-hmm. And so now we get a little kind of montage, just a series of events where she, she has to start taking on some royal duties.
Yeah.
So they do the first dig in a site.
Planting a tree.
And him and his mom have the smallest little shovel dig, and she's a
oh my god, cringe.
Yeah,
cringe.
So
she's like, farm girl.
And everyone's like, whoa, you really know how to use a shovel. And she's like, farm girl.
So cringe.
Yeah, and so the newspapers start writing about her, which was this supposed to be
Princess Diana? That's what I was thinking, yeah.
All the articles, the newspapers love her.
Yeah.
And the mom pulls her aside, and she's like, you're upstaging, we were trying to launch something.
Yeah.
And get publicity.
You're basically ruining it, and you don't understand how we do things.
Yeah. now they're not going to write publicity for the thing we were doing because they're too busy writing about how to use a shovel.
Yeah.
And then the prince is in, like, a meeting. I don't even know. Something about politics.
Who knows?
And he was so mature.
Yeah.
And, like, did a really good job. And she's like, you should have seen him. He was balancing. And,
oh my
like,
God, yeah.
Came with a compromise between the unions and the corporation.
Oh, yeah.
And the mom pulls her aside and she's like, you have my blessing now because...
And now she likes her.
See the quote. I don't normally like change, but when that change turns a boy into a man, it's time to reconsider. That's what the mom says.
Is this when she brings her to get, like, diamond necklaces or something from the vault?
This was enough.
Sign me up for that.
Okay, but this was another scene that I was like, this could have been 5 minutes shorter.
That's true. Okay. They spent a while looking at the different necklaces and trying on different necklaces.
Like, the
mom should have just presented her with a necklace.
It should have been the doors open to see all this pretty jewelry, and then it cuts to the next scene of her wearing the jewelry.
Yeah.
Instead, we get scenes of her trying on a necklace. No, that one's not right for you. Try on a different one. Yeah. It's like, are you kidding me? How is this movie not over yet?
Agreed.
So then they go to a ball and he plays their song that she would dance to at the bar. And he pulls her away to a private room to make out. And he got her a meat cutter.
That was so... I'd be like, really?
And I guess just, like, the fact that he's been, like... He was pulled away for, like, a business meeting and she gets shut out of it. And she kind of realizes, like, I'm not living my dream. I'm living his. And
she's just following orders the whole time.
Yeah, so he shows her this meat cutter and she's like, I can't do this anymore. I want to follow my dreams and I want to become a doctor. And he is very understanding about it. He's like, yeah, go follow your dreams. Like, yeah. But he's so sad.
Yeah. She goes back to college.
And he becomes king. He gets coronated.
Yeah.
And then at the graduation, he shows up and is like, I think we should make this work. Yeah. He's like, I'll wait for you.
As long as it takes. Like, I want to be with you.
Through med school, I'll wait for you through residency, but let's make this work. And then they kiss, and the butler's in the background, like, standing there watching them.
But that's how it ends, right?
Yeah, that's how it ends.
Like, that was such a worse ending compared to if the crowd is cheering for them and she rushed all the way to Denmark and it was this big grand thing.
The big grand gesture. They could have rode off into the sunset and
totally.
It would have been a perfect ending.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I guess it's more of a realistic ending.
Yeah, I mean, it's showing after the happily ever after grand romantic gesture moment.
Like, oh, it's hard to marry a prince, but, like, we don't need to know that.
I don't need to know that.
I'd rather think it's easy to marry a prince.
Please let me fantasize.
Yeah. It's kind of cracking the shell of...
Didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
Didn't
let me live in
it.
ignorance.
Okay. Those are the movies.
Yeah.
Lots of thoughts. Let's rank.
Okay. What's our first one?
Tropes. So, I literally have, like, 1,000 tropes for Prince and Me.
It's a very tropey movie, for sure.
Legitimately have it.
Royalty and commoner.
Yes.
Playboy and good girl. We've got grand gestures. We've got
they have, like, a semi-meet cute. Not really, but, like, that moment. Do you know what I mean? Well, first, he almost hits her with the car.
Yeah.
So, it's like you kind of have where you know something's going to be happening here. You see they're paired up as lab partners. Like, there's so many. The king is sick. He has to take on the responsibility. Yes, the dramatic scene with the rain. Complete opposite. And then even the gesture at the end. I mean, that is
grand gestures on both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, this has got to be high, like a 9.
I have this as a 10, but this was me just, I can be dramatic. I'm totally fine with this being a 9. It's totally up there, though. Yeah. This was it was so tropey.
And then Trainwreck, on the other hand...
I didn't think there was many. Like, I only have that it's opposites attract, and there's the grand romantic gesture.
Well, I have she's a writer that wants to be more than just, like, the cheesy magazine. Yeah. I also have, it's also kind of Playboy and good girl, but gender swapped. She's the Playboy, he's the good boy. Yeah.
Well, that's opposites attract.
Yeah.
Right? They're complete opposites. So I really only have, like, 2, 3, right? So I have this at a 5 because it's a lot less than even some of these other movies we've been discussing.
I guess, but we also have the silly best friend.
Yeah.
Like, on both sides. LeBron's his silly best friend.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
Vanessa Bayer is her silly best friend.
So what are you thinking, 6? Move it up a little bit?
Yeah, I'll move it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it does have...
I don't think it could go much higher because the other one is at a 9.
So high.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 and a 9?
6 and a 9, I think.
Okay.
Okay, so then let's do lightheartedness. So Prince and Me. They both have some heavy parts.
They both have dads die.
Did the king die in it?
I assume that's why he became king.
Oh, yeah. I guess they just kind of brushed over that other than, yeah. But I felt like Trainwreck was much heavier than it had, like, it was dealing with much heavier things. I felt like Prince and Me was just trying to make things light, even though there was some heavy stuff, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it almost, like, but because...
He was lying about his whole identity, though, in Prince and Me. Yeah, he was.
The thing is, like, it didn't feel like a super light movie in the same way that, like, Kissing Booth was a super light movie. Just because there weren't, like...
Yeah.
The characters weren't very silly. Like, you
yeah.
don't have
or, like, even, like, what was it with Zoe Deutsch?
Set It Up.
Set It Up. Like, that felt very light, too.
Yeah, it almost didn't feel that
Yeah,
light.
these were a little bit more heavier.
Because the whole, like, second part of the movie is... Like,
yeah, and she's trying to, like, she wants to follow her dreams. She has to leave the love of her life. Yeah. Both of these actually were heavy.
And, like, the characters were kind of serious characters.
Yes. I do get a little sense, though, that Trainwreck was, like, a little bit more serious. Like, even just half a point. They're both dealing with things, but Trainwreck was really, like, she was a mess. And that was, like, you were really seeing the ugly parts of her.
I guess you could say she was a train wreck.
She was a train wreck. You're really getting, like, they're delving into her problems.
So do we give it, like, a 6 and a 7?
I think that would be fair.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have 7.5. So, yeah.
6 for Trainwreck and 7 for Prince and Me.
I agree. I think that's perfect. Okay. So, quality?
I mean,
Trainwreck was so much better.
I mean, Prince and Me still had Julia Stiles.
And you know what? They went on to make 4 other movies, even though they don't have her in them. I mean, clearly people loved this.
Also, clearly it had, like, a big budget. I mean, it had some beautiful, I don't know if that was Denmark, but it had some beautiful, like, castle scenes.
Yeah. I mean, and it stood the test of time.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it was kind of a higher quality.
And the fact that I haven't seen Trainwreck yet was a little concerning. But it had that had a better cast.
Yeah.
And it was very, like, well, comedy is a different...
They were both well done, I think.
Yeah, I think so, too. I like both of them.
Do we give them...
equal or no?
Trainwreck is a bit higher, I think. The quality of, like, the writing, I think, was still a bit higher for Trainwreck.
Yeah. Because they're,
Maybe a 7 and a 6.
I think even closer, no?
A 6.5 and a 6? No, they're higher.
No, higher quality.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Because I have Trainwreck as an 8.5.
Yeah, this is kind of a high quality movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's really well done and a lot of
great
actors. Yeah.
Great actors.
So I had 8.5 and an 8. 8.5 for Trainwreck.
At an 8?
Mm-hmm. Because really, Julia Stiles is incredible, but, like, who else really?
You know, I'm almost thinking it should be a little bit lower than an 8. Like a 7.5.
It's just that it stood the test of time. Like, everyone watches, everyone knows this. But you know what? When you're comparing it to these other movies, I am okay with that. A 7.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because there were moments, like, where the script just didn't land.
That's true. And some cringy.
For the Prince and Me, like, a little bit of cringe. And, like, there were moments where I was like, oh, you're trying to make a joke, and it's not really landing.
Okay. Let's do comedy. I mean, this is...
Come on now.
You saw me on the plane. I was crying laughing.
Well, let's talk about the scene that you cried laughing at. So LeBron James and Bill Hader are playing basketball and talking about his relationship, and LeBron's like, you have to be careful. Like, if she gets pregnant.
Do you know how many times, like, these people try and say that they're pregnant or something like that, right? Like,
yeah.
And he basically gets into the...
He's like, 18 years.
18 years? And he starts quoting, but speaking... Song, Kanye, Gold Digger song. It is so funny the way he delivers it. I was crying laughing. But again, anything that LeBron said, I was laughing at.
Are you quoting Kanye at me right now?
18 years. It is so good. So I think this is a 10 for comedy. I mean, this was by far,
I think it has to be a 10.
Out of all the movies so far, this was
so many funny moments.
So funny. All right.
Oh my god, another really funny.
What?
They go to like she goes to a couple of these like family parties or whatever, and one of the women there is like,
oh my god, yes.
I adopted this kid. Is that what you're gonna?
The other scene when they're talking about the craziest thing that they've done, and they're sitting in the circle,
and they're all talking about like the stupidest things.
Yeah, they're like, I let my kid watch Pitch Perfect or something like that. Yeah, it's so good. But the other couple at the party adopt some kid that they think is 3 years old, and it's like this 17-year-old.
He's a grown adult.
Yeah.
Yes. They're like, they said he's 9 years old, but we have our doubts. And he's like, he doesn't speak English. He takes all our money.
It was so funny. Oh my god. So when I compare it to Prince and Me, I mean, Prince and Me is like 0. It's like 0. Yeah. I'll allow a 5, but honestly, I wasn't laughing in this at all. Like, I would say 4.
The butler's a little silly.
And the roommate is a little silly, but I was not laughing. This is a 4 to me.
The only other comedy quote I have down is when he takes her home to the castle and she's like, you didn't tell me you live with your parents.
Yeah, but it's like, oh brother, come on. Yeah. Like, when you're comparing it to the genius that is Trainwreck of comedy writing, I say 4.
Okay.
Good, okay. Romance, last category. I don't know about this. I mean, this is hard because...
It's 2 different takes on romance.
2 different takes on romance, but I did enjoy them. Yes, Prince and Me was cheesier, but I like them growing together. They're genuinely friends. Better people. Yeah, they're friends and they're helping each other become better people.
I think it's more of an epic romance too.
Yeah.
It's like they're so in love that they travel she goes across the world for him. Yeah. Like, it's more of an epic romance, and he does the same for her, and he's willing to wait for her.
Yeah. It's very much dreamy. I mean, romantic comedy, dreamy. You know, this is what you go...
I think we have to rate it high.
I think it's definitely high. And Trainwreck was a more realistic approach to romance, but honestly, very cute. Like, you see that they genuinely like each other, too. It's just a different, realistic, modern take kind of a thing. I don't know. I really liked both of them.
I feel like we have to do Prince and Me slightly higher on romance. Just because it's such a classic.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I'm good with that.
The royal and commoner, like, trope is just such a strong one for romance.
Yeah.
Where he has to betray, like, his whole... Or not betray, but he has to go against...
And who wouldn't want to...
Everything he taught.
And who wouldn't want to become freaking royalty?
Yeah, she's a princess.
Yeah, okay. So I think I am leaning towards then Prince and Me being maybe higher towards 9-ish.
9, that's what I was thinking.
And then Trainwreck 7? 7.5? 7.5. Okay. Let's do that. I think I'm good with that. All right, let's tally it up.
All right.
Okay, here are the totals, and this was... I don't know. I guess these were equally matched kind of for me. Different, but
in different categories.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so we have Prince and Me at 36.5 and Trainwreck at 38. I don't know.
That's a close one.
I don't know how I feel about this. Like, either one. I'm kind of surprised that Trainwreck moved forward, but I'm not surprised, but I am.
If Prince and Me just gave a little bit more to the comedy, I think it would have won.
Yeah, because this is romantic comedy. We need both.
This was more of a romance.
This was a romance.
Not as much romantic comedy.
Which is a shame because I do like the movie.
This is great, yeah.
I can't believe this is the first time I'm seeing Trainwreck and it's literally moving forward.
Yeah.
This is nuts. All right.
All right.
That's it. Wow. Okay, week 4, Trainwreck is winning. Don't forget to check out the bracket on our website. The link is in the description. We'll also be posting the final scores.
Send us your thoughts on this week's episode at thetropereport@gmail.com.
A bonus episode will be out next week, Trainwreck versus Always Be My Maybe. And also stay tuned for episode 5, which is 16 candles versus 27 dresses.
That's it for now.
Until next time, keep it romantic.